Hello everyone. Welcome to WonderWorks. My name is Marquise Parker, and when I introduce myself, I always say that I'm from the great state of Virginia. That's why I picked that as my walkout music. Got to give a shout out to Missy. And everyone watching virtually, if you're from Virginia, give me some love in the chat. Also, at the end of the last session, Danny and Priya said that y'all should not have more fun here than over there, so I will try my best not to make this fun, but it's hard. I can't make promises because charisma, I can't control charisma. I got a lot. But if you do have more fun, just tell them that you didn't, and they'll feel better. I am Indeed's Vice President of Strategy and Transformation, and I want to thank you all for joining us here this afternoon. I'm really excited to spend some time with you today. This is a relatively new role for me, a few months old, and I accepted it to lead a range of strategic and operational initiatives that would help move the needle for Indeed. When our Chief Revenue Officer, Maggie Hulse, originally pitched the role to me, she described it as leading a smoke jumper team that would tackle some of Indeed's toughest problems. And then later, when I talked to our Chief People and Sustainability Officer, LaFawn Davis, about the role, she described it as, we're gonna go fix some stuff. She didn't actually say stuff, but I'm on stage, I have a mortgage to pay, I've got an 8-year-old that wants to go to college one day, so I'm not getting fired for saying the real word here. But as I look at all of you in the audience, I realize that as HR leaders, talent leaders, you're basically doing the same thing that my new job is to do. You're the firefighters who are jumping out of the helicopter in the middle of the fire trying to put it out so your companies don't burn down. You're the ones out there fixing some stuff to ensure that your companies run smoothly. You're the unsung heroes of your organizations, and we want to share some information with you over the next few hours that we hope will help you save the day each and every day. So in the panels that follow, or the presentations that follow, we'll be taking a closer look at what the world of HR needs in the reality of today. Leaders from Indeed, Glassdoor, along with some other workplace experts, will share their insights on topics like work-life, DEI, and work well-being. So that first one, work-life, that may be a new term for some of you, because it was a new term for me until about a month ago. And once I learned what it was, it clicked. So let me explain a little bit about it. So once upon a time, people had work and people had life. Work, life, two totally separate ideas. That is until, for many people, work began to creep into life, and then all of a sudden you start hearing conversations about work-life balance and how important it is because the overlap. So now things have evolved, and the concept has grown much, much bigger. Work-life is all about how our professional and personal lives are increasingly overlapping and erasing the former hard line that used to exist between being at home and being in the office. And so work-life offers a perspective into how we might build a healthier relationship between work and life. To further discuss it, define it, and dig into it, I'd like to introduce Taylor Meadows, Glassdoor's head strategist of employer brand. He'll share some wisdom of his own, and then he'll bring in Glassdoor's CEO, Christian Sutherland Wong, and Sarah Tilley from ServiceNow to share some of their own thoughts in a fireside chat right here. So Taylor, please come to the stage.
Hello, FutureWorks. How are you today? It is so lovely to be back with you. I'm so honored to come back to FutureWorks and join this wonderful event. On behalf of all of my fabulous colleagues at Glassdoor, thank you so much. And I am delighted to talk to you about work life today. As Marquise said, it is true. Work and life have never been more interconnected than they are today. It's a very personal experience for many of us. We think about it a lot, we're at it a lot, and we talk about it a lot. Even in the times that we maybe think, why did I even talk about my job or what I do in this conversation? I have a story that I'd like to share with you. The very first time I ever went down to Cape Town, South Africa, which is an amazing city, by the way, especially in the wintertime. Flew all the way down there, went to a New Year's bash. I'm on vacation. I'm in the mood to meet new people. which I did. I struck up a conversation with a local who I'm going to keep it 100 with you. We were totally vibing. Until we hit this juncture in the conversation, when innocently enough, he said, so tell me about yourself. I might have told him where I was from, but I can tell you what I didn't do. I didn't talk to him about my interests or my hobbies, but what did I do? Just dove right into what I do for work. Oh, I'm in tech. I work at Glassdoor, like all proud. I'm in employer branding, and employer branding is, and as I began to give him a literal definition of what I do for a living, when I tell you that this man waved me quiet and yawned simultaneously, like yawned, it's not what you want. He waved me quiet and said, do you think that you're interviewing for a job right now? And so, as you would imagine, I was immediately mortified. I took pause, spiraled a little bit, and on one hand thought, oh boy, am I an American cliche? Maybe. Has work become my personality? And is this man going to make me into a meme tomorrow? Because you never really know these days. But here's the thing. This is what this experience taught me. Once I did pause and I reflected on this, I thought, when someone does ask for me to tell them about myself, why do I instinctually talk about work? And the simple answer is because work has actually been a very important part of my personal development over the years. Has it been perfect? No. But has it been important? Yes, it has. You see, this leads us to a foundational truth that I want to share with you. And that's that work does, in fact, shape who we are and how we interact with the world. It shapes who we are. It doesn't define who we are. I think that there's a key difference there. But I do think that we stand to better understand that relationship between work and life. And here at Glassdoor, we are real keen on this too, because this is our new North Star. So to better understand work life, we went out into the field and we conducted new research. So over the summer, we deployed a new research study in partnership with our friends at Bovitz, who were wonderful to work with. And we talked to 1,000 knowledge workers and asked them, like, what does work life mean to you? And we were able to distill our insights down into 3 key themes: identity, community, and well-being. So what I would like to do today is I'd like to walk you through these themes, share some insights with you in terms of what we learned, and then I'm going to offer you some perspective of how you might use it as creative intel to tell your employer brand stories just a little bit differently, maybe even a little bit more intentionally. So let's start with identity. So as we've been talking about, we associate ourselves with work often, and our data backs this up. So check this out. Nearly 2/3 of the folks that we talked to said that work significantly describes who I am, which is a pretty high number. But even more telling is that virtually everyone we talked to said that, yep, me too. I tend to talk about work outside of work, maybe with friends, maybe with family members, and maybe some of us are guilty of doing that. Maybe some of us have been on the receiving end of it. But here's the thing. When work is going well, we tend to talk about it with people. When work is not going well, we tend to talk about it even more, whether they want to hear about it or not, right? You're at a social event like, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, just really busy with work. Like, we all do it, right? It's all there. But when we think about this, like, why do we talk about work so much? It is because it is personal for many of us. You see, I genuinely believe that choosing the right employer comes with immense pressure for folks, right? They don't want to get this wrong because they know how much time they are going to spend at work, and they know how much energy it's going to take. And hey, I think that, from talent professional to talent professional, I think it's a really important moment for us to just take a second with each other and remember that searching for a new job is an emotionally taxing process. It's not fun, right? There's a lot of stress that comes with it. Career transitions are major life events. And here's the thing. I don't think that people want to dislike their jobs. I actually think that people really want to like their jobs, right? We spend more time at work than we do asleep. I think that people are just interested in finding great employment experiences, but they are shopping for very specific things. For example, they are interested in sense of purpose in their work or values alignment with the company that they're going to be working for. They want to know that they're going to have fair and equitable pay so that they can fend for themselves, that they have flexible and modern schedules so that they can get their work done, but hit a doctor's appointment without feeling bad about it, and still continue to prioritize their personal life over work. They want to know that they can show up to work authentically themselves and who they are and fit within a culture, that there's going to be room to personally and professionally grow and develop, that they have leaders who are transparent and honest with them when things are going well and when things are not going well. And they want to make sure that their mental health is not compromised, dare I say even supported. So here's the thing though, I recognize that this is a tall order. And the hard reality is that, y'all, this is like not everything, right? Like this is only it's a couple of examples of what people are shopping for. So I think that we stand to go a little bit deeper on employer brand storytelling in a way that feels more intentional so that folks get a great idea as to what it's like to work at a company instead of cramming everything into one narrative, going a little bit deeper. So how do we do this? Well, I think that what we need to do is add a few new lenses to our employer brand thought process when it comes to strategy. There are 3 that I'd like to talk to you about today, and these are going to serve as a guide for us for the rest of our conversation so that you can maybe think about that intentionality of the stories that you're telling within employer branding. So the first lens is the lens of the company. So when you are thinking about telling your company's story, right, things like mission and vision and values and commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and your employer value proposition and social impact and sustainability, right? All the things at large that give our companies distinction. This is probably a lens that a lot of us have been operating in so far. But here's the thing, this is a very important lens, right? It's important to talk about all of those things because they act as qualifiers for folks to even begin to determine like, okay, is this company in alignment with what I believe and what I want to invest my time in? Do I want to invest the time to apply and interview here? Right? It's a great first step. But those kinds of stories, is that where people actually experience the brand on the day-to-day? I would actually argue that it's not. So I think that we need to add a second lens, which is the lens of a team or a division or a department, right? The actual unit that someone is going to spend time thinking about telling stories that highlight individual colleague relationships, or the managers on the team that are going to be making that impact, or the work that is being done within that unit that people can contribute to. But then we need to focus even deeper on the lens of the individual, right? Maybe through the context of their role, but what are the skill sets, what's the experience that someone individually is going to have at that company? So here's the thing, when these lenses are all working together, we should begin thinking about it something like this. What is the company and the team going to give to that individual? But then conversely, what is that individual going to give back to the team and the company? Because when these things are working in harmony, something great happens. Culture happens, right? This is where culture is made. And when people are having a great cultural experience, they're having a great employee experience. And you might have heard me say it before, but I'll tell you again. At the end of the day, your employee experience is in fact your employer brand. So what I would love to do is I would love to apply our themes and filter them through our lenses from the perspective of the job seeker to just simply spark some creativity. So through the lens of the company, how is the company's reputation going to affect my own? Because people are paying very close attention to, yes, how companies treat their employees, but they're also paying attention to how customers are looked after, the quality of products and services that that company is putting out into the world, how leadership communicates externally. People want to be proud of where they work, right? They don't want to be ashamed of where they work, right? So they're paying attention to all of these things. At the team level, folks think to themselves, am I going to be proud to represent this team cross-functionally? So what's the internal brand of that team? And then specifically, how do I see myself contributing excellence to that team? Right? What contributions am I going to be able to make? Or maybe even better yet, what is a gap that exists that I might be able to fill to really leave my mark? You see, right here, this is why it's so important to highlight actual employees at your company, in your employer brand material, and in your assets and in your content. Maybe moving away from that stock imagery and photography that feels a little distant and cold, because people want to see the impact that others have made on the company so that it could be potentially a reality for themselves. Right? It's all about positioning yourself in a way that allows you to create culture and community in the workplace. So, speaking of community, let's transition to our second theme. As adults, we really do experience a dwindled social sphere, right? Making work a really important place to develop relationships as we get older. And community at work is woven in many ways, maybe a little bit more formalized. So it could look something like volunteering opportunities, in-person social gatherings, ERG networks, transparent and consistent town halls, or even virtual platforms. I can tell you here at Glassdoor, that is where we are sorely focused right now. If you were to open up our app right now, you would see something new, that our heritage platform is now grounded in community conversations, and they happen in what we call bowls. So now it's a new place to allow folks to connect with their immediate colleagues or industry peers, anonymously or not, in a way to encourage open and honest dialogue, and maybe a way that they haven't experienced in the past, right? A new way to build community. And these things are very important. But friends, I want to remind you of something. Building community, either at work or not, is actually done in a lot simpler of a way. It's really the little moments that make community meaningful, right? It's taking time to connect with your colleagues and ask how the family is doing. Or when you've got a little one, right, poking their head in on a call, right? It's met with joy, and it's met with a little bit of comic relief. It's when folks on the team have the opportunity to teach each other new skills. Maybe it's a brown bag lunch and learn every once in a while. It's taking the time to start a meeting and maybe not dive directly into an agenda, but just taking time to connect. Maybe you get a little bit creative. Maybe every week you assign someone new to choose a 6-minute TED Talk short. You all watch it together and take 5 minutes to talk about what feels relevant to you. It's those of us who have famous pets in the office or on Zoom, or when you just get together to celebrate a cultural moment. See, here's the thing. When you begin to capture these moments, what it's going to do is it's going to inspire the way in which you talk about your brand, and it's going to humanize it. And it's going to allow you to humanize that brand across every surface that your employer brand touches. So your corporate career site, your company profiles, your recruitment ads, your interview questions, your social media content, literally all of it is going to feel much more relatable and much more human. You see, at the end of the day, relationships matter. 3/4 of the people we talked to said that it's actually relationships at work that increase my desire to stay at my company longer. So then this would suggest that investing in community efforts is going to influence retention for you. And retention is as important as attraction when it comes to employer branding. So let's apply community, filter them through our lenses from the perspective of the job seeker. Through the company lens, how does this company build culture outside of meetings? So to my senior leaders in the room, I recognize that we're all at work to get things done and to make money, but you have to invest in camaraderie, because if you don't, people are going to burn out, and they're going to burn out fast, and they're going to start to feel like robots. And we've already got robots working for us right now, right? It's really about building that sense of community at work. What would individual teams say are their uniting team values? Do teams have charters, for example, that they could maybe use to, I don't know, fluff up a job description to make it feel more of like a story and less like a bulleted list of just role and responsibilities? And then from the individual perspective, how much of myself could I really reveal with my peers? I think that this starts at the manager level. Of the times that I have seen managers exercise vulnerability, you know what that does? It creates psychological safety on a team. And psychological safety allows people to feel more like themselves, that they can be more open and bring more of themselves to the team and the culture at large. And when they do this, there's going to be a greater sense of safety, a greater sense of security, and a greater sense of support. Speaking of support, let's transition to our final theme of well-being. This is a hot topic in our industry right now. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my peers at Indeed who have done such great work in the well-being space. If you're interested in learning how you can quite literally measure well-being and tie it back to business performance, come back to that session this afternoon because it's chock full of good insights. But for the sake of our conversation, I want to talk to you about well-being through the perspective of support in the workplace. And there are two that I want to discuss with you. The first is structured support, which I believe is table stakes. What does structured support look like? This is when you need to really, kind of go above the line and lean on your company for support. So it's the times that, you need to lean on HR to navigate a sticky situation. Or it's when you have a company who invests in innovative internal tools so that you can get your job done more efficiently and less stressfully. It is wellness programs like, apps and workshops and gym reimbursements and all of those things. Ongoing inclusion initiatives that reinforce protections we have in the workplace. And I would argue that structured support looks like comp and benefits. Because I'll tell you something, one of the ways I know I feel supported at work is knowing that I have a competitive and equitable paycheck coming my way every 2 weeks, and that I have a comprehensive benefits plan that allows me to tap into it should something happen. But friends, with structured support comes unstructured support. And unstructured support is really what leaves a culture legacy in the workplace. And it is no more complicated than this. It is when you have colleagues who have your back, no questions asked, when you need to take time off. Or when you have a manager who is responsive and compassionate. Or that your work pals, your leadership, celebrate your individuality. I can remember early in my career, I experienced a pretty notable health scare, and I had to take extended time off. And I do remember having a great HR BP who walked me through my benefits, explained how I can use them, kind of reduced that stress. But you know what I really remember? I remember how my colleagues and my manager totally stepped up for me. They reminded me that I was a person before I was an employee, that my clients were covered, the work is going to get done, all I need to do is focus on my health. They're sending me cards and chocolate and all the little tiny things that allow me to still recommend that place as a wonderful place to work 10 years later, which is a good reminder that great employer branding isn't always relegated to just a campaign. It's also word of mouth. So here's the thing. When you have structured support and unstructured support working together, another beautiful thing happens. People start to feel valued in the workplace. So check this out. From our research, we were able to really look at 2 different groups of people. The people who said that they were happiest at work, and the people who said that they were unhappiest at work. And both of these groups reported feeling high, almost equal amounts of stress. But the happiest group, nearly 72% of them said that I feel valued in the workplace, versus the unhappiest group, where only 25% of them said that I feel valued in the workplace. So this kind of begs the question, when is the stress worth it? Are you stressed because you're working on a project that you really care about, and it's going to yield really, awesome results for your company that you can take pride in? Or is it stress that is just going to drive you out the door? So feeling valued, actually contributes to well-being in the workplace, and we are looking to elevate well-being in the workplace. Is it really about tossing another meditation app into the pile? Or is it, especially from a leadership perspective, is it simply about going above and beyond to make people feel valued, heard, and respected? Maybe today, maybe sometime this week, maybe you think of somebody that you don't normally connect with that has just been killing it at work and send them a quick ping. I guarantee that it would make a huge impact that you didn't even realize it would. So let's apply well-being, filter them through our lenses. So through the company lens, what well-being benefits at your company do people just love that you can continue to talk about? What do your reviews say on Glassdoor? Because they're not going to lie to you. But they will tell you what people love. And it definitely is a great place to start. But I want you to also think about, what are examples of the times that your teams have shown up for each other in moments of chaos? Not just celebration, not just birthdays, but chaos. And then individually, how are folks going about showing that they value and appreciate other people? Because this right here, this is the kind of thing that you should be talking about in an interview, which is also an employer brand touch point. It doesn't just exist in content. But people are really looking for examples of how they feel they're going to be supported at work. So here's the thing. We've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time, but I want to bring it all together for you in one easily digestible snapshot. And spoiler alert, this is the money slide, so if you're going to take a picture of anything, it should be this. My goal is for you to leave today, for you to answer 3 questions for yourself. What is your brand known for? Why do people stay at our company? And when they are ready to depart, Why are they better now than when they got there? If you can answer these questions, this is going to serve as your blueprint that's going to supercharge your employer brand. It's going to make it feel stickier. It's going to make it feel more inviting. It's going to be more sought after. And it's all going to be rooted in this newish thing that we're calling work life. So FutureWorks, let's make work life better together. We have a special treat for you. I'd like to hand the stage over to two people who know a thing or two about building great culture at their companies. First, I would like to introduce Sarah Tilley, who is the Senior Vice President of Global Talent at ServiceNow. ServiceNow is one of our absolute best customers and an amazing brand. And of course, Christian Sutherland Wong, who is our very own CEO at Glassdoor. So thank you so much for having me. Please welcome.
Good job, man. That was awesome. Hey everyone, I'm Christian Sutherland Wong, CEO of Glassdoor, and joined by Sarah Tilley, SVP of Talent at ServiceNow, and thank you again to Taylor Meadows. When Taylor and I were talking about what our vision was for today's session, what we really wanted to create was the opportunity for you all to learn about how do you create great employee experiences at your companies, and how do you do it in a way that's actually good for business. And as we thought about this, we said, well, it's going to be really important that we can have a world-class talent leader to come join us from a best-in-class employer. And we have that with Sarah Tilley from ServiceNow. Sarah is an industry-leading expert in talent. She's spent a lot of time leading talent in the entertainment industry, first at Warner Brothers, and then spent 12 years at Disney, rising through the ranks to become VP of Talent there. And then 2.5 years ago, she joined ServiceNow at a time when ServiceNow is going through incredible growth to be SVP of Talent there. If you've been tracking ServiceNow, you'll see just in the last year, the ServiceNow stock is up 65% year on year. And they're not a small company. They're a Fortune 500 company, so it's pretty huge. And a big part of ServiceNow's success is its people and the employee experiences that it creates for its people. And that's why we think you have so much we can learn from ServiceNow. At Glassdoor, we track ServiceNow really closely. For many years, we've seen them do so well on our platform. For the last 3 years, they've been on our best places to work list. In fact, last year, they were number 3 on best places to work. And they're also on our list of best-led companies. They have a 4.4-star rating on Glassdoor, and that's out of 5, it's pretty high, and a CEO approval rating of 96%. So again, a lot we can learn from ServiceNow. So Sarah, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about ServiceNow, and in particular, what is the work-life experience for your employees at ServiceNow?
Thank you, and thanks for having me here, Christian.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. So ServiceNow, it is interesting because our star is rising. It has been for a number of years, but we still have a lot of work to do from a branding perspective, an employment branding perspective. So I thought Taylor did a really great job on that too. But so we're known as being an AI platform for business transformation. So basically what we do in the simplest terms is we take a lot of disparate systems and processes and data and create simple connected workflows so that you can use AI to extract insights, et cetera. So it's about making mundane, sort of difficult work a lot easier and simpler. We've got about 25,000 employees across 33 countries and 71 offices, roughly around $10 billion in revenue, and about 85% of the global Fortune companies are customers of ours. So talk about work-life. So we are a fast-growing tech company, so we work hard, we drive hard, which means we've got to pay a lot of attention to the experience people are having on this topic. And I really do think that the biggest sort of impact that is happening on people's lives at work is the manager. And Taylor touched on this a little bit too. So it is, is the manager checking in? Are they just asking how employees are doing? Are they modeling the behavior? and when I say modeling the behavior, again, I like what Taylor touched on in terms of just exhibiting, vulnerability, being transparent, but also, you can talk about your work-life programs all day long. You can talk about PTO, but are you actually taking it? Are you actually, going to your kid's soccer game or doing whatever is the priority outside of work? So it is reminding or teaching leaders these simple things, initiate conversations, and formal training on how to recognize burnout. So we really spend a lot of time thinking about the role that the manager and the leader plays. And then we have unlimited PTO in the US. We have, 6 well-being days globally, which are everyone pretty much unplugs, which is phenomenal. And there's a lot of things that we're looking to do to support people in terms of their holistic, work life. But I think that those are the things that the manager role, are you doing, are you enabling programs? Are you inserting as much flexibility as you can? Prioritizing what you're working on? Those are some of the things that we're focusing a lot on.
Great. I mean, that's a really great overview of what you're doing at ServiceNow. It leads me to my next question, which is, when a lot of time when people think of what creates a great employee experience, what leads to a great Glassdoor score, and in my role, people often ask me that all the time. And people generally think it's like these things like around work-life balance, or it's PTO, or it's about perks, the meditation apps, or things like that. What's really interesting of what we see on Glassdoor is, we have millions of companies on our platform, millions and millions of reviews, is when we look at it, the number one driver of your employee experience, the number one driver of what drives a high Glassdoor score is, in fact, a sense of purpose in what you do and feeling valued at work, which is a lot of what Taylor was just talking about in his presentation. I'm curious, do you see this at ServiceNow, and what is your approach to helping employees feel a sense of purpose at work?
Yeah, I think purpose has to be ingrained in everything that you're doing. And I was thinking about, again, this whole conversation. I think that, in my mind, culture and purpose are really closely linked. So if you believe in what you're doing, and we do, we believe that we're actually out there making the world better. We think we're making experiences better for employees across the globe. So we believe in what we're doing, believe in where we're going. And I do think that comes to life in your values too. So if being purpose-driven is one of your values, then it becomes a way of being. So we have 4 values that we sort of attach everything to.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, please let me remember them right now. Win as a team. Oh my gosh, create belonging. It's being on stage. Will make you go sort of blank in the brain. Win as a team. Where's my ServiceNow folks? Create belonging, stay hungry and humble, and wow our customers. Thank you, Faz.
Good job.
So these are the things that we're bringing into everything that we're doing, and we're talking about them all the time. And we're some of the things that Taylor touched on too. It's like, how do you make this big company? 25,000 is big. I mean, and we've been growing. It's not the size of many of your organizations, but it's still big enough that you have to spend a lot of time thinking about how do we make this big organization feel smaller, and how do we make these virtual interactions. How do we get to some of the magic that you experience when you're in person? And it can be done. Yeah. Again, I think, our culture is we're pretty optimistic. We're silly. We use humor a lot. Yeah. Our town hall, we call it SNL, ServiceNow Live. We actually had Dana Carvey come and impersonate our CEO, and they leave the chat open. People are in there actually sharing their point of view about what's happening, and it's a very transparent, supportive, optimistic, authentic culture. And I think that you have to bring that to life, and you have to create those moments, the space for people to be human and to connect. So again, I think if being purposeful in what you're doing isn't a part of just the ethos of your company, and you sort of started with this too, we 100% believe people are at the heart of our company. Yeah. And so people care about living purpose-driven lives. Yeah. So you have to be able to articulate that. And it's, I think you can be doing a job that you love like the actual work that you're doing, you really enjoy. But if you're not feeling good about what the company's putting out in the world, or you're not feeling connected to the people that you're working with, it's going to take that joy away. And on the flip side, on those days that are hard, you know, because there's always going to be hard days, even if you are doing work that you love, if you're in an environment where it is supportive and it is collaborative and you trust the people that you work with and you do feel good about what you're doing and where you're going, it amplifies the joy, you know?
Yes, I love that. I mean, right in this day and age, we talk about burnout so much, and it feels like a topic that's come up again and again and again in the last few years. And often people think in that kind of one-dimensional way about burnout of like, there's just too much work to do. But what you're describing is that it's not just about the work. There's a second dimension, which is like, do I enjoy the work? Do I feel value in the work? And if you feel value in the work, you're not going to feel burnout when there's tons of work going on. But on the flip side, it doesn't matter how much work there is. If you're not feeling valued, if you're not feeling a sense of purpose, you're going to probably feel burnout.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know why it took us so long to figure that out, but it did, right?
Yeah.
I think, for so long, corporations just saw the employees as commodities, but that's really evolved and changed.
Yeah.
And again, it's, it's overused, but the, culture eats strategy for lunch. But I think it is sort of a more recent revelation that you really cannot have a strategy without the right people and taking care of your people and caring about what they care about and treating them with respect and letting them, again, what Taylor was talking about, prioritize the things that they need and want to prioritize outside of work.
Yeah. I want to hit a hot topic now that I'm sure is relevant to a lot of people in this room, and that is around approaches to flexibility, remote work, work from home, things of that nature. We've seen unprecedented change in the last 4 years since the pandemic, where in the pandemic it was a necessity for us to get more flexible and to embrace remote. And then companies seemed to see it was working, and there were companies who were stating, oh, they're all in on remote. And then now I think in the last little while we're kind of seeing the pendulum swing back, and companies saying, actually, we don't think this is good for work anymore. I'm curious around ServiceNow's approach to flexibility, remote work, and how you balance that with making sure it feels good for business as well.
Yeah, we haven't taken a hard line on this at the enterprise level, and that's really by design, because we do believe in inserting flexibility as much as possible wherever possible. We also know that there are times when it's just going to make sense for people to spend a certain amount of time together in person, whether that's in a specific functional area or on a project or initiative. We know that there's going to be value in that. And then there are some times, again, when we talk about building community, that we're really trying to encourage that. We're really trying to entice people to come into the office and spend time together. But overall, what we're prioritizing are results over how many hours you're putting in, exactly where you're spending your time, and more on what are the results that you're driven. Let's be really tight on our KPIs across our different domains, and inform ourselves through data. Again, where does it make sense for us to have an in-person presence, and to what degree, and then where is it less impactful, and really kind of monitoring that on an ongoing basis. So it's always sort of fluctuating as we get more informed by data, but we are purposely looking for maximum flexibility.
Gotcha. I feel like there's, as people and leaders have struggled with some of the flexibility concepts, some of it is around this feeling like we need to get people together for productivity purposes, and to your point, you're still looking at the results to see do you actually need people to be in the office to get stuff done. But I think another big challenge with remote work and flexibility is that it's hard to build company culture sometimes in a remote environment. And I think many of us, we've grown up in companies where company culture was built when we're all coming together. But it's different now in today's world. And so, Glassdoor, we've been very focused on this because we see this as an opportunity for Glassdoor to help employers around the world, and we've been trying to build community features into our platform. You'll see a lot more community conversations. You'll see these things that we call company bowls, where employees from a particular company can come together to connect with one another. I'm curious around how you think about, given that you are leaning in flexibility at ServiceNow, how are you thinking about still building company culture? And also, you have a pretty active company bowl on Glassdoor. What have been your learnings from, how that plays?
I think a lot of it goes into, it's sort of connected to everything we've been talking about too, which is, are you creating space for actual real human connection? So, on those virtual meetings, are you, is the behavior sort of modeled by leaders that they're taking the time to really have a genuine interest in what's happening in the lives of their people? Not as a tactic, but because it's enjoyable for them as well.
Yes.
To like know the people that they're working with and to be invested. So I think it's creating, sort of genuine interactions in whatever way you can, through whatever channels you can. Again, virtual, whether it be employee belonging groups, whether it be, the authentic, a bigger town hall conversations. And I loved what Janice Bryant was talking about earlier, and it kind of goes to what we were talking about in terms of purpose, where she said she grew up in a culture where it was about doing good and doing well. And I feel like that really resonated because it is about, are you doing well? And, and checking in on people, but also reinforcing the purpose that I think builds that community that we were talking about. So, and reminding people, are we doing good? Are we doing good, like not just in our work, but are we doing good in the world? And regrounding in that purpose does help, I think, to strengthen the community, for sure.
I love that. I want to move us along to another really important topic in the workplace, and also one we've seen a lot of change in over the last 4 years, and that's the investments in DEI. And I'd say, in the last 4 years, we're seeing a lot more focus on this as an area. And then again, I feel like there's been a pendulum swing back where you're now seeing some companies coming out saying, actually, we're investing less in DEI. And on Glassdoor's platform, we've seen the last year, there's been a 75% decline in DEI-related job postings on our platform, kind of speaking to this change. I'm curious around ServiceNow's approach to DEI. Do you see this as something you want to do? Is it a moral imperative for you? Is it a business imperative? How do you view it?
I think it's both. I think it's a strategic imperative, quite frankly. And I personally feel very proud to work for an organization that continues to make this an important priority, up to our CEO level, who will talk often about how we're better as an organization. We're more innovative. We do have a stronger culture and community when we're prioritizing this, and we're going to see better results. And I think that either you don't believe in the business case, or you're driven from a place of fear in the with the emerging sort of environment. And I think that when given those choices, we're working for an organization and for a leader who has said what we benefit from as a society, but also as a business, far outweighs any fear that we should have on this topic of litigation or whatever, fill in the blank. And I think that we're going to see over time that proves to be true. That plays out. The organizations that continue to say, we're going to diversify, and all dimensions of diversity are important. Again, it's not just the traditional ones that, maybe carry a little more, or getting a little more attention, but all dimensions of diversity. So we need people that think differently, that operate differently, that consider innovation and risk in different ways, that, creatively produce differently, interact differently, have different backgrounds, experiences, all of it, that we're going to be better. We're going to be better able to serve our customers. We're going to be better able to serve the communities that we're operating in if we are prioritizing that. So we 100% are, I would say, not only have we not backed off of it, we're doubling down on it.
Leaning into it, love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I see we're running short on time, so I'm going to kind of wrap this up with, we've talked a lot about and got a good picture now of what the internal view of the employee experiences is at ServiceNow. How do you then transform this into an external view of how do you build your ServiceNow employer brand in the community? And as Taylor said, it's not just a company-level employer brand, but also increasingly a team-level employer brand as well. How do you think about that? And what's other general advice you give to the audience as they think about building their employer brand?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to keep referencing Taylor's, but I thought it was so good because it really is about using the voice of the employees and just clearly articulating what's in it for you, what's this experience going to be like, what's the experience of you as an individual, but also the team, because we have our kind of macro culture, but there's a lot of subcultures that exist. That's going to be true of any organization. So understanding what is the subculture like within that team, and having the employees and the leaders tell that experience, create user-generated content that is actually going to make it real authentic and make it real clear. We're pretty fortunate with the progress that we've been making at the company level, and recently we announced Idris Elba as our sort of brand ambassador, who we think represents our values and our drive. Because we're still not on the map of a lot of people, even though a lot of organizations are partnering with us closely. And so, we've still got some work to do on the macro sort of branding, but at the individual level, I think you've got to amplify the voices within.
Love that. So the one piece of advice I'm taking away is if you want to build a big employer brand, get Idris Elba to represent your company.
It helps. He's taken them.
But ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Sarah Tilley from ServiceNow.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your time today. And I think we now have, yes, a slide up. So we are now going to have a networking lunch at 12 o'clock in room D222, hosted by Glassdoor. You'll have a number of Glassdoor leaders here. We'd love to continue this conversation on work life. So please feel free to join us there. And we also have a work life lounge in the main area. So hope to see many of you there. Thank you.